Welcome everyone, Farmer Cop here. Today I'm going to teach you guys how to use the Sugarmill production facility in Farming Simulator 22. So first things first, how do we get a Sugarmill production facility? So the first thing, if there is one on the map you're located on, I'm on Elm Creek, there's actually not one on here, but if there was one on here, let's say this was it, I know this is the oil mill, but just work with me here. If we went to wherever the production facility is that we wanted to buy, we would find the wrench icon near it, open up our help menu, walk up to it. You can see the R up in the upper left-hand corner to buy production facility. If we hit R and we buy it, then we would own it. You can't sell it after you buy one that is built into the map. If it is built into the map, you cannot sell it after you buy it. You are stuck with it. So just be aware of that. Now, the second way to go about this is if we come up here to this guy here. The second way to get a hold of one of these is, well, go into the store, go down here to our construction menu, go over to production, go to factories here, and then we can scroll down until we get to, oh, the sugar mill. So there we go. And we can purchase it that way as well. So if I did place one right here, I could have a second sugar mill. Now, the other way too, these ones you can sell because I can click on it, demolish it. You're not going to get the same amount of money back, but you can then clear them out of there. So as simple as that, those are the two ways essentially to get a hold of a sugar mill. So on Elm Creek, the only way to get it is actually to place it like I've done here. So just be aware of that. Now, how do we get these production facilities essentially to work? What's the purpose here? The purpose of the production facilities is to take an input and get a new output that's worth more or you can do more with. So, for example, the sugar mill will input sugar cane, sugar beets, or chopped beets, and you will get sugar out. You don't have to provide it with all three of those products. You just have to provide it with one or more of them, and you will always get sugar as the output. So that's essentially how it works. So I have a sugar cane trailer here that has 12,000 liters of sugarcane in it. So that is one of the possible inputs. Now again, the input portion for the sugar mill factory is gonna be back here where you see this dump icon, and you can dump it into there and it will go into the production. Now we'll go into all the details on the production here in just a minute. First off, I wanna talk about the menu. So the menu for this can be accessed in two different ways essentially. Now we can hit escape and go into our main menu, scroll down to this little conveyor belt icon on the left-hand side, click it, and it'll open up our production menu. Now this will have all the production plants that you own, so I can click on my sugar cane down here, or my sugar mill down here, and see what's going on with it. Now we'll talk about this menu in a second. The second way to access it, especially if you have more than one production facility, this is easiest. Walk up to the wrench and hit R to manage the production, and it will jump you to what you're at. So if I come and I have this in here, if I go escape, but then I hit R here, it's going to jump me down to the actual production facility that I am working with. So that is one thing to note there. Now, everything going on in this production facility, you'll see down in the bottom right-hand corner, no matter where I'm at, as long as I'm near this production facility, it'll tell me what's going on as long as I have the field info turned on. So just something to note there. Now, if I walk back up to this, we go into here, let's talk about this menu a little bit. So we're going to talk about a few of the different functions here, and then we're going to talk about what they mean. So first off, I can click through all these, and down at the bottom, I have an activate or deactivate. Now, if I activate it and there's no materials, it'll say materials missing. They'll always come preloaded as deactivated, and you can still load materials into them if they're deactivated. They won't produce anything until you activate them again. So we're going to leave it all deactivated for now. We'll activate it later on. Now, if we go over here to our output, we can change the input mode down here. So right now it's on storing. I can change it to selling, and I can change it to distributing. So those are the three input modes. We'll talk about what all those mean in just a minute. Now, a couple other things to note. The cost per hour is here. So the cost per hour should, as far as I understand it goes, should multiply between the three, or should add up. So it should be, this is what I've experienced. Again, production facilities are new, so I don't know exactly how all of this is going to work. I can tell you in general, but the cost per hour, that should be right there. I don't believe that that's when it's running. I believe that that's in general. So what I mean by that is you'd add 5 plus 3 plus 5 to get 13. So this thing is going to cost you $13 an hour. And then if you take that $13 an hour and you multiply it by the 24 hours in a day, this facility is going to cost you $312 a day to run. So that's my understanding. I definitely could have some of that wrong. Let me know down in the comments if you've experienced something else. Now, another thing to note, up here at the top it says cycles per hour. So this is a cycle. So this 2 here means that it's going to go through this cycle twice in an hour. Now, you might say, well, these all say 2 on them. Why would that even matter? Why don't they just double up this and say 1 cycle per hour? Well, some facilities do change a little bit. Like the oil mill, for example, will have different cycles per hour based on different items in there. So they have a reason for it. It just is what it is. So the next thing to talk about is the recipe. So what this means here is this is going to intake 500 liters of sugar beets and output 250 liters of sugar. If I go to cut sugar, 500 liters of those to get 300 liters of sugar. Sugar cane, 500 liters for 250 liters. So those are the different recipes. You can see the ratios may change based on some of those. So just be aware of that. Now over here, it's going to show you for all of your incoming materials, it's going to show you how many you have in there. And then this storage bar will go up as this storage gets full for all of these. And same here for the outgoing. This will show you how many liters you have here. And this storage bar will go up as you go along. Now, let's go ahead and get into actually getting this thing activated and getting this thing rolling. So the first thing we need to do is get it some sugarcane or some input material. So we're going to hop on our tractor here, which has 12,000 liters of sugarcane in the back. And we're going to drive around to the input point, which is just right around the back here. And you'll get an icon that'll say I to unload right down there at the bottom. We'll hit I to unload, and we'll go ahead and dump this whole load into here so we can have that for our production purposes. We'll give it just a second here to get it all unloaded, and we can go in here and see that as we're unloading it in there, the sugarcane value is going up because we're unloading sugarcane in there. All right, we have sugarcane in here. Now it just needs to be turned on. But before we turn it on, let's talk about these different output modes here. So the first one we're going to leave it in and talk about is storing. So what storing is going to do is it's going to keep the sugar in here, and we'll hop out of here to talk about this. It's going to keep the sugar inside the factory until there's enough for a full pallet. And when there's enough for a full pallet, it will place a full pallet out here in this checkered area here. Now, once this checkered area here is full of pallets, it will start storing the sugar cane, or excuse me, the sugar in here until this gets full, and then it'll stop production. Now, again, you can have all of these guys running actively, so you can have stuff in all of these inputs, and you will still be getting the output here. You'll be having all of these guys contribute to the output as opposed to just one. So just be aware of that. And you can turn them on and off down here again with the activate deactivate function. So if I go ahead and I go down here to sugar, activate it, it says it's running. So what it's going to do is run until we get a full pallet out here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring you guys back in when we have a pallet so we can take a look at that. All right, so as you can see, we have a full pallet of sugar here. I love that, the sweet home refined sugar on there. So there you go. It has 1,000 liters in it, and there you are. So that's how you get the pallet out, and that's what the storing is going to do. Now, if we go down here and we switch this to selling, what is that going to do? Well, every so often, once it gets enough, it won't even be a full pallet's worth, so it's not going to wait till it gets to 1,000. But every so often, once it gets enough, it's going to look into this menu. It's going to find the sugar in here, and this is what the factory is going to look at. So it's going to look at all these options in here. It's going to find the most expensive one, whoever's buying the sugar for the most, and it's going to sell it to them. But there is a penalty. If you sell it using the selling function here and not do it manually yourself, you will take a 40% hit. At least that's what I've noticed with experience selling stuff and using this function. So what that means is instead of selling 1,000 liters for $1,035, you are now going to be selling them for $621 instead of the $1,035. So just be aware of that. You do take a 60% hit if you use the selling function, but that's what the selling function will do. Now, if we go back into our menu, go down to our productions, and we change that to distributing, we'll talk about what distributing means. So what distributing means is it's going to take your sugar and move it to the next step in the process. So for sugar, you can take sugar and either put it to the dairy and make chocolate, or take it to the bakery to make cakes. So those are the two different things that sugar can go towards. So if you have it in distributing mode, it will send it to one of those facilities. But if you notice here, we don't actually have a facility to send it to. So what happens if you set it to distributing and there's no facility? Well, this bar will continue to fill up until this is full and production will stop. So if you have it set to distributing, it will fill up until this is full, and then if you change it to storing, it will then pop out a bunch of pallets for you and then continue on that route. Or if you change it to selling, it will go from there. Otherwise, it'll deliver it to the next process if you have it in distributing and you have somewhere for it to go. Now, the good news about distributing is this feature doesn't really charge you a delivery fee, at least not one that I can notice with testing. So it should just move it right along to the next process almost for free for you. So very useful. Now, what do you do with the product that you have here? What do you do with sugar? We kind of talked a little bit about this. Again, you can either sell it. So if I go in here, I can sell it to the highest price if I want to do that by hand. Or again, I can move it along the process to use it at the dairy to make chocolate, or use it at the bakery to make cakes. So those are what you can do with it. Anyhow, guys, that is everything you need to know about the Sugarmill and Farming Simulator 22. If you guys enjoyed this video, please drop a like down below. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button up on the screen to join the Farmer Cop channel, and turn on your notification bell so you don't miss any future videos I may post. This has been Farmer Cop. Thank you guys for coming and for watching.